This week on Project GVR4, we try to get to the cause of this really annoying idle surge. Welcome back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again for another installment of Project GVR4. Yes, we are going to start wrenching immediately on this car. We have a lot of things to take care of. The first thing I want to take care of is one of the most annoying conditions that is commonly found with Galant VR-4s and DSMs. Idle surge. It really negatively impacts drivability. It makes you sound like an idiot when you're cruising around a parking lot, and it just generally is not a good thing to have going on with your car. So there are a lot of tried and true testing methods out there to get to the cause. I have one that I've used for every time I've owned one of these cars because they always come with this problem. We're going to go through what I'm used to doing on these vehicles to track that problem down. Now, you never want to start by just throwing sensors at these things. It can get expensive quick, and it won't solve your problem a lot of the time. So we're going to start with what I have found to be the #1 cause, vacuum leaks. So we're going to boost leak test the car, see where she's leaking. I'm only assuming there are going to be some. Who knows? Nah, there'll probably be some, let's be honest. So let's get in there. Let's do the boost leak test and see what's going on with this Galant VR-4. Let's get into the garage and get some work done. In addressing this idle surge, which is quite pronounced on this particular example, the first thing I want to start checking is for a vacuum leak or a boost leak. Now, the best way to do this is to make a tool. So what I have constructed here is something very simple, very rudimentary, but works fantastically. So what you're going to want to do is get yourself some serious rubber hose here. It can be a giant radiator hose or anything of the like. I went with a 2 1/4 inch inside diameter. This will fit over the 14V turbo, which is stock on the Galant VR-4 and the DSMs. It'll fit over a 16G, an Evo 3 16G, so most of those turbo size applications. So this is the size you want. Go ahead and get yourself 2 hose clamps so you can tighten each end. On this end, I basically have a pipe cap, a PVC pipe cap in there that fits snugly inside the rubber hose, and it can be tightened down airtight with this clamp. I also screwed a hole through to apply a tire nozzle. And so I have the tire, kind of like a tire fill valve right here. As you can see, you can unscrew this. And it's the regular size of most tires, so you can easily put an air tool on there and pressurize it, which is the key component of any boost or vacuum leak tester. So it has a rubber gasket on either side, so it sits airtight, if you can see down in there. But yeah, basically the whole purpose of this tool is so you can hook up an air supply to it, pressurize it. Don't use too much pressure. I don't like to go beyond 20 psi. 15 usually works pretty good for showing most boost leaks. This will be on the turbo. Air source through here. You'll have to remove your intake assembly, of course, for your air intake. This will show you any boost leaks you have. You're going to use soapy water all over the areas that are prone to leak, and you'll see all kinds of bubbles come up, and that'll indicate your boost leak area. So this tool is essential. Definitely build one of these. Cheap to make, easy parts to source from a Home Depot or Lowe's or any hardware store. Let's go ahead and start boost leak testing the car. To get the boost leak tester on, this whole assembly needs to be removed. So go ahead, make sure you, first things first, disconnect all your vacuum lines. You want to disconnect your MAF plug there and any other vacuum lines you might have. You do have this hose coming off of the intake here, so make sure you get all of that before you try pulling it out. A lot of little clamps, some bolts holding it down. So make sure you get all that out, and we're going to try to lift the assembly out as one piece. You also have the snorkel here. Try not to break that plastic if you still have this on your car. All right, let's do it. Also, for any little vacuum lines you disconnect, there are a lot of vacuum lines under this hood, so go ahead and label those where they go. Just helps you when you start putting things back together. You get yourself some tape and a marker to do that. There's the whole assembly removed. So with the whole air intake assembly removed, it isn't a bad idea to go over the entire unit. Make sure there's no cracks, which would pose a risk for having another vacuum leak. Obviously, if there's some cracks or anything post-MAF, that'll mess up your airflow too. But go over this entire unit, make sure there's nothing bad here. This rubber can crack. You can get holes in it, so check everything out, make sure it's good. Not a bad time to clean it up either when it's outside the car. So let's go ahead and keep moving forward with the boost leak test. It's quite difficult to get a camera angle to show you where the boost leak tester is going to be applied to the turbo, but let me zoom in here and just show you what we're working with. As you can see down there, there's our air inlet for the turbo. See the stock 14B, you can see the printing on the actual turbine housing. We're gonna go ahead and attach our boost leak tester right there, get it clamped on, and then we're gonna apply air to it and see if we're having any leaks. I'm sure you have a pretty awesome view of this upper radiator hose right here. Sorry about that. We're gonna go ahead and get this on now though. At this time, we'll go ahead and use our tire chuck here to pressurize the whole system on the car and see where the leaks are coming from. So just standard tire air filler here, and we're gonna plug that into our boost leak tester and see what we got. All right, we're gonna pressurize the system now. One of my favorite places to look is around the throttle body area. Let's check it out. Get your soapy water on there first. Oh, already can see, look at that bis screw. Look at that. Let's check the rest of this throttle body out. Oh, you can see something at the bottom of the throttle body here. Let me just check. No, that's all bis screw still. Wow, throttle body's not leaking at all. It is all because of the bis screw here. Look at that. Well, that's pretty obvious. The rest of the intake looks good. Nothing crazy going on there. Make sure you check around thoroughly. You don't want to miss anything. Yeah, that's all I'm seeing is the bis screw, but that's definitely enough. Look at that. Losing a lot of air out of that. Now there's a little O-ring in there. Just so you know, you don't tighten down that screw to make that leak stop. That adjusts your idle. It's the basic idle setting screw there. Yeah, look at all this air. So with the leak coming from the bis, which is the basic idle setting screw, we're gonna have to replace the O-ring. It's a number 5 O-ring underneath the screw itself. So we're gonna have to pull the screw completely out. A couple words of advice here. Any adjustment to the screw really needs you to reset it after, which involves grounding the sensor and setting the range again. So be aware of that. What I'm gonna attempt to do now is assume this is still set correctly and no one messed with it. And I'm gonna go ahead and mark it. I'm then gonna screw it all the way down and see how many screws it takes to get there. And then I'll have a base idea where to set the screw when I put the new O-ring in. So let's go ahead, pull that screw out and get the new O-ring in. Okay, we've marked the orientation of the bis screw. Now I'm going to measure how many turns it takes to get it all the way down. 6 turns gets it grounded out, so that's important to know when we're setting the new one. Let's go ahead and pull this screw all the way out now. Have a magnetic tool nearby because you do not want to lose this bad boy. There we have it. This screw removed. Hey, let's go ahead and see if we can pull that O-ring out. There is no rubber O-ring, and that's definitely an issue. Let's take a look at the basic idle setting screw here. As you can see, it's pretty carbony on the end. Indicator that that throttle body is probably pretty nasty. What does that mean to me? Well, it means I'm gonna take that throttle body off and completely clean it, which means replacing all the gaskets, getting everything cleaned up, because I have a feeling there's a lot of carbon built up in there. It's crazy. Look how much carbon's on the end of this. So we're gonna go ahead, take the throttle body off and clean that. We'll also replace the BIS O-ring when we put everything back together. Fun times. Well, you guys know how this goes. Same story as always. Once I'm in there, I might as well do it all. So let's go ahead and get that throttle body off. Now there's quite a few connections going on, and we're gonna definitely mark them all up so we don't lose them. There's the rest of the throttle body. Clearly I have no self-control, guys. Check this out. So we got the throttle body off, a little nasty inside the intake manifold. We'll take care of that. All the coolant lines. One of them I'm definitely replacing. Actually, probably gonna replace both. One was so hard it cracked while I was trying to remove it. So that's an issue. We'll go ahead, order new gaskets for the throttle body, along with that O-ring for the BIS. And here we are. Pile of parts removed. Obviously you saw me take off the intake. There's the bracket that holds the throttle body. There's the throttle body. There's the neck that comes from the upper intercooler hose. Yeah, we're gonna clean in there. The front of the throttle plate looks really clean. Different story on the back side for sure. Yeah, that's pretty nasty, thick and carbony. So we'll get that cleaned up nicely. This was the hose that was hard as a rock. When I removed it, it cracked, so that's a good time to catch it when it's out of the car. This would be a very annoying hose to replace while everything's put back together. So go ahead and catch these things while you're taking it apart, guys. All right, we've already got a pile of parts going. Let's keep wrenching on this thing. And for all the time I put into this kind of stuff, I can't be more happy. Look how clean all these parts are now. Just looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, look at that throttle body. Looking so good. That elbow that connects to the intercooler and the whole intake assembly. So worth it. I take that extra time, I put in the extra details, and it comes out fantastic. Just look at that.